What's up, light bearers? Welcome to Light Tap, a Vivised podcast. My name is Melissa.
And I'm Emily.
And today we're talking about...
Love is Blind.
Love is Blind. Hey, did you watch Love is Blind?
Heck yeah, I did.
It's funny, I'm asking you, but like you really put me on the show.
I really did.
Yeah, you tried to convince me to watch it, and I was like, no!
And I was like, you're gonna love it.
I know, and then it's like when I started watching it, you know, like I didn't start at season 1. I started with season 2, and you were like, no, watch season 1. I was like, nah. And I was hooked. And then I was like, okay, I'll watch season 1.
Okay.
I mean, it's like, you know how they say like trash TV? It's kind of like
that. It kind of is. It's like, it's trash reality TV.
Yeah, like there's drama and stuff like that. But it was very entertaining. And I mean, I like some of the moves that the girls pulled out. Like, I'm choosing myself type of deal. I like that. So... overall, it was a good show. And that whole concept was crazy, too.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. We're going to start off with reading the Bible verses. Again, like any video or any podcast that you hear or see, this is just a little disclaimer. This is a light tap into the subject. If you want to learn more, please do your homework. Open up your Bibles. This is the best time for you to spend time with God and His Word and have Him reveal things to you, for you. But this is our take on it. So we'll read today's Bible verse. Emily will read it in English, and then I'll read it in Spanish.
Okay, we will be reading 1 John 4, 11 through 12. And it says, "Dear friends, since God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us and His love is made complete in us."
En español es 1 de Juan 4, 11 al 12 dice, "Hijos míos, si Dios nos ha amado así, nosotros también debemos amarnos los unos a los otros. Nadie ha visto nunca a Dios, pero si nos amamos unos a otros, Dios vive en nosotros y también su amor estará en nosotros." All right, Emily, so you brought this topic to the table.
Sure did.
Besides the show, what was the reason that you wanted to talk about Love is Blind?
I saw this one post on Instagram that you actually sent me, where I got this idea from, and somebody was asking this content creator on Instagram, is love blind, you know, in terms of Christianity, right?
Yeah.
Because like this verse states, no one has seen God face to face. You know, we've only ever felt His presence or His love, things like that, but we never actually seen Him, you know, face to face. And he made a couple points that I really liked. And I liked one thing that he stated where he was like, you don't have to see God to know that God is real. You see Him in the people that you interact yourself with, you know, with like-minded people. You see Him in everyday things that you experience, whether it's, you know, His creation around us, the love that our special partner brings to us, your kids, things like that. So I found that really interesting, especially knowing that something so omnipotent that we can't touch, it's not tangible, it's not something that we can see, but we know that God loves us so much, you know?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I mean, I think Love is Blind, like, you know, it's true, like, you know, people would like to like question Christians. Well, how do you know that God exists, and why do you go so hard for God? This is somebody that you don't know, like, if it really exists or not. You never seen Him, you never touched Him, you never heard Him, you never felt them, blah 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 blah. But it's like, this is completely different. Yes, in this sense, it's blind because we're not able to see it like with our eyes, but at some point we have heard God. We have heard Him, whether it is like audible, porque mucha gente que lo ha escuchado audiblemente. There's, you know, like you hear Him in your heart, like when you like something is telling you, something is like telling you like not to turn right, and it's like you didn't hear it, but somehow you heard it. And then like there's like moments where like you're in His presence, and all of a sudden something comes over you like that you just truly can't explain, and it's just like a peace and a joy, and like that is His presence. And so yes, it is blind, but the love is real.
Yes, very real.
The love is real. Like at the end of the day, we're both saying I do. So I think love also in that same way of like, you know, when people are asking us if how do we love God if we've never seen him, there's always like a question también que nos preguntan, or no nos preguntan, pero como que like they insinuate because we're not being obedient to his word.
Yeah.
Right? So we love de llenarnos la boca de decir que we love God.
Yeah.
And like we go super, super hard, but our actions
can say otherwise.
Yes. So, Emily, do you feel like you're an obedient child? Dun, 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 dun. I like to put you on the spot.
I see that. And you know, for those that watch us here,
I ask the questions here.
You already know that we are very real.
Yeah, we keep it real.
Put our ourselves up to the chopping block, and I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
You know, I think I have my moments. Where I'm very obedient, and I'm like, no, I cannot do that. And then I have my other moments of weakness where I'm like, it's almost like I don't forget, but sometimes it's almost like the flesh wants to take over.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, this one time won't hurt me, or this sin isn't as big as this other sin. And we talked about this in another podcast where like no sin is greater than another.
Yeah.
So I would say I'm obedient when it counts. And I know it's supposed to count every time. Yeah. I know that.
I'm like, what are you talking about?
But again, I'm human and I make mistakes. Sure. And I don't think there is anybody, you know, we try, but I don't think there's anybody that is 100% obedient.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. I mean, same.
I try my best.
Honestly, yeah, I do try, but I have a lot of moments where it's not being obedient at all. I know that. And I mean, I don't know. I want to say that I think like if you knowingly do something that you know it's wrong, that's something a little bit different. But there's moments where like you are like when you have been so far from God, where you haven't cultivar ese amor con él, that you're not even realizing that you're messing up. You're so detached from that relationship that you don't even know that something is wrong, right?
Like you're so disconnected that you can't even like feel that connection to that love.
Como ahorita, like digamos, we were just talking about this actually. We were watching TikTok before we filmed this video, and we were watching a TikTok about the new song that Karol G con Becky G. It's not that new anymore. And I was like, you haven't heard this song? And you were like,
I was like, no.
And I was like, dang, like I must be disconnected because I heard this song, like, you know. But I mean, that's just like a funny thing. That doesn't mean that you're disconnected or connected. But I was like, you know, like, in a sense, I have been disconnected from God, and I was gonna hear this song regardless because I like to be in the know.
Yeah.
Like I like to usually pop culture like normalmente viene como like the music. Yeah. I feel like, or like people that make music or celebrities or whatever. So I like to be kind of in the know because then that's how you know how the world is gonna shift.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well, let me listen to this song or whatever, right? But even in that, like, sometimes I have been so disconnected from that, cultivating that love with God, where I'm, like, straight up just wilding out, like, in my own terms, and I don't feel like I'm doing that.
Yeah.
But then there's moments where I'm so close to God, where it's like that love convicts me and be like, hey, it checks me and like that's not okay, that's not what I want you to be doing in this moment. And then because I'm so close to God, being obedient is not that difficult.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, all right, Lord, I just want to make you proud. I just want you to be happy with me, whatever. Like, let me just stop whatever the hell I'm doing. But yeah, love is blind, the crazy, huh? And in this show, it's like there's a wall between two people and they're just getting to know each other.
And they don't get to see each other. All they do is hear each other's voices. They never see each other until they're like until they're in front of each other proposing knee to knee. You know, they propose before, but they don't propose face to face until they feel like, oh my God, I haven't seen this person. I've only talked to this person. I don't even know what they look like. Any of that. but I feel like I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the same way, it's like us, like we don't see God. Like this Bible verse says that we've never seen him. And yet, and he's saying like, yeah, he loves us, right? It's saying that, like, God so loved us, but then it gives us that discipline part. We also ought to love one another. And that is so hard.
Very hard sometimes.
Yeah, porque like, es como que like, no quiero. Like, esa
like
persona,
some people just try to test you and they try to push your boundaries.
Daily. And then, but you're like, I'm going to walk in obedience today.
And that's because God's love resides in you. And that is when the obedience aspect comes in.
And then it's like, when you have that love of God in you, which I think that we should all pray for, honestly, because yes, we might have love, but the love that God has, that's a whole nother level. Like, he straight up is like, flaws and all, I love you. Y nosotros somos como que flaws. Oh, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Red flag. Which we also had a podcast on, right? Red flag. Like, no, if there's a red flag, like, just like toss them away. Like, they're discarded. Like, no, get away from me. But God is like, God's love is like, red flags and all, I still love you. I still want you. And so it's like, that's the same way that he wants us to love other people.
And it would be a little hard for us.
And that's the hardest part of like being obedient.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But we want to encourage you. I mean, this is not just to talk about how hard it is, but it's also to like be an encouragement for you guys that even though you haven't seen God, to accept his love and to love others. Like, be disciplined. Like, you know, do what he says to do. And yes, it's going to be hard. And yes, you're going to have moments where you don't do it. But for the most part, work on being obedient.
I think God understands. He's like, I know that there's no physical way that you can even show the amount of love, unconditional love that I have for you guys, but I want you to at least try.
For sure. You know? Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so we're moving on to our segment of every podcast, Am I the Asshole?
Okay, so for this one, the title says, Am I the asshole for telling my mother-in-law that she can do whatever she wants, but she is still inconsiderate and doesn't deserve to be loved?
Okay, remember, like, in all of my podcasts, especially the last one that we just did, I said that every time that is somebody expressing how they feel, they're not the assholes. Yeah, sometimes you gotta, like, keep some things in, though. Like, you can't be telling people that they're inconsiderate and they don't deserve love. Excuse me?
Everybody deserves love. You know, even if they might be the most horrible person ever, you don't know, what led them to be that way. We're not all born being assholes. That's just not in our human nature, So, like you said, there is some things that we can keep to ourselves. I think she went a little bit above and beyond when she said, well, you don't deserve to be loved. I think that was uncalled for. Let's just say that.
Yes, without even reading the story. Like, I have my doubts here.
Okay, let's find out. So it says, we are currently staying with mother-in-law. I know she is doing us a favor, but I was raised in a family where people genuinely wanted to help each other, and I'm still taken aback by how transitional my husband's family is. Mother-in-law is engaged, and she is so clingy. It's insane. I honestly don't know how this guy deals with her. She sometimes wakes him up multiple times at night for attention. I've heard him talk to her about how that needs to stop. Mother-in-law always laughs it off. Last night, mother-in-law screamed and it woke up my kids. It really freaked out the toddler and it took forever to get the baby back up. In the morning, when my husband asked if she was okay, mother-in-law said she was fine. He was just tickling her. I was immediately annoyed. Her fiance said he has asked her not to wake him so many times, so payback. I pointed out that they woke up my kids and they both shrugged it off. I kind of jokingly asked if mother-in-law was going to keep waking him up. She said no, but everyone else rolled their eyes. Because really, she probably will until she realizes he is serious. She doesn't do boundaries well. I said nicely that I get that they were playing around, but I have 2 little kids and her screaming did wake them, and I was up a good part of the night. Mother-in-law said that it was his fault. Then said She felt bad, but really it is her house and she can make noise whenever she wants to. I said that while I understand that it seems weird that she wouldn't care more about her grandkids sleeping than her right to scream. Mother-in-law snapped at me that they aren't her kids and I'm trying to make her feel bad when she didn't do anything wrong. I said she was technically right and she owes us nothing and doesn't have to care about anyone, but maybe that is why she is afraid of being alone. She has never said she is afraid of it, but holy hell, is she clingy with this man? It's because she knows she doesn't deserve love if this is how she treats her own family. She currently isn't talking to me and her fiance has said that he thinks I am a huge asshole.
You are.
Dang, not even a second of thought, just straight up asshole.
You are.
Okay, since you got some comments, go ahead. You can start first.
Honestly, I just think that, like, you're the asshole because one thing is, like, saying, like, hey, you know, I'm so sorry. Like, I know that I'm using up your house. Yeah. You know, thank you so much for taking us in. Whatever their situation is, like, thank you for being understanding. Thank you for taking us in, etc., etc. Yeah. But for then her to say, like, oh, well, you don't deserve love, and you know that you don't deserve love because you're so clingy. Excuse me, you don't know her love language. Maybe her love language is physical touch.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, maybe it is to, like, I mean, at the same time, también, mother-in-law, come on. Like, el hombre te está diciendo, déjame en paz. Like, y tú no querés. Like, you need to be stopped. But that's somebody else's spot to say that, right? That's the guy. That's and obviously the guy was point. Like, okay, well, this was payback. And it was kind of like a funny payback. That's kind of sweet. Yeah. And so their relationship is to be clingy. And it may be cringy for you, but that's your problem.
That's what works for them, you know? And you're not part of their relationship to say that.
Exactly. And then, I mean, I get it, like, as a mom and you have a toddler, like, I will get why you will be upset that somebody's screaming in the middle of the night and waking up your kids, and now you have to pay the consequences for that. But then I think, like, at this point, both of you guys are mature adults. You should have a mature conversation about it instead of being like, well, this, like, you don't deserve love, or you're so inconsiderate, or popping off in the mouth, saying like, oh, you don't care about your grandkids sleeping. Like, you don't have to say all of that. You could just, I mean, you could just express how you feel, like, hey, I'm sorry, but, like, I know, again, that I'm staying in your house, but can I ask you kindly to please, you know, not scream in the middle of the night or try to wake my kids up. At the end of the day, if the mother-in-law said, nah, homie, like, I'm not gonna stay quiet, this is my house. At the end of the day, like, if you don't like it, you can leave.
Because it's not their house. It's the mother-in-law's house.
Exactly.
So, okay, so the way that I see it is like, okay, who knows how long they've been engaged or how long they have had their relationship, right? The mother-in-law and the fiance. We don't know how long they've been together.
Yeah, we don't.
You know, and we don't know how involved the daughter-in-law and her husband have been with them in this house, right? We don't know how long. So who knows, you know, how well versed she is in her mother-in-law's relationship with her fiance for her to even say, like, you don't deserve love. She's probably insinuating that this man doesn't love her. You know,
true, yeah.
Can you imagine? And they're probably, like you said,
or that he shouldn't love her.
Yes, and like you said, like probably her love language is physical touch, and he might be playfully joking around. That's why he tickled her. Like, he's like low-key, like, please don't do it anymore, but low-key I like it because you're being sweet, you know, don't wake me up out of my sleep, like, do it before we go to bed or something. But I still think it's sweet, you know. And they're probably in their honeymoon phase, they're engaged and everything. And I think for her to say, like, you don't deserve love, like, you don't love your grandkids, it's showing entitlement for me. Because she thinks she has a right, just because she's a mother and she has kids, that, oh, well, because I have kids here now and we're living in your house, you need to have more respect for my kids than for your relationship. You know? Yeah. And no, it's not your house. If you want to have some privacy, if you want to have some quiet time for your kids, okay, move out. You can control the environment, the situation in your own home. You know?
And obviously they're going through some situations because these aquí, like, we're currently staying at my mother-in-law. I know that she's doing us a favor, but I was raised in a family where people genuinely wanted to help each other. So I think it's like they're needing help somehow, some way. But even then, if you know that you're the one that needs the help and somebody's taking you in and giving you that help, wouldn't you want to be more like
grateful?
Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying to like suck it up, but I'm just saying like have a conversation, express how you're feeling. But at the end of the day, they don't have to do what you're telling them to do.
I think she could have been a little bit more respectful and a little bit more understanding with her words. Instead of saying all of that, she could have been like, hey, like, I have young kids, you know, I have a little toddler and they need a lot of sleep. Toddlers need a lot of sleep. And she could have said like, unfortunately, my kid keeps on waking up. I understand that you're newly engaged and you're enjoying this time, but my kids wake up, and when they wake up, they don't go back to sleep, and that means I have to stay up. So if you could be a little bit considerate, I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
If she would have said that.
Or she's wanting the mother-in-law to obey her wishes.
And it's not even her household.
Exactly. It's like, come on.
Yeah, and you know how when you're in love, especially when you're engaged, all you're thinking about is your relationship with that person. You're thinking about your future and everything that's gonna happen. You're not thinking about other people.
Exactly.
You're not thinking about, oh well, now I have to worry about my son and her daughter and his wife and their kids. Like, you're thinking about you and your special other.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And she has every right to.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like. No.
And to me, another point that I see here, I don't know if you noticed, but she said, the daughter-in-law said that mother-in-law is engaged and she is so clingy, it's insane. To me, it's like, I understand that you're going through something, and who knows the reason why you don't have a home anymore, right? But clearly you're upset at whatever situation it is, and your husband hasn't been able to make the situation better. That I feel a little bit of jealousy in here.
Yeah, like she's
a little bit. Yes, because she's like, oh, she's clingy, she's all lovey-dovey, like, and I can't do that.
That I see it, and I also saw it where it said that she was being annoyed. Let me see. Okay. So he was tickling her. I was immediately annoyed. Like, you know, like, ugh, here we go again type of thing. I'm just like, ma'am, you're a hater and the asshole. I'm sorry.
So Retta dubbed this person the asshole. With every right, and I agree with them.
Same here.
You know, if she would have worded it different, I don't think she would have been the asshole. You know, if she would have been a little nicer about it, but she didn't.
But she didn't.
I don't think anyone ever deserves to be so that they don't, you know,
deserve
love. Everyone deserves love.
Yeah, you know? And God gives everybody love. So even if you do not have a man next to you, you still have God's love.
Yeah.
And in the same way, this concludes our episode. We want to remind you that, yes, this Bible verse says that we've never seen God, and we obviously know that we have never seen him, but yet he loves us. And because he loves us, it is our responsibility to obey him, to obey his words, to obey his commandments, because at the end of the day, it's like a mother or a father to his child, right? That they're like, hey, I know that this commandment or this rule of the house suck, and it's not the funnest, but it's because it's going to prepare you for something great.
Yeah.
It's going to help you build life skills. It's going to show you responsibility, or it's going to keep you out of harm's way. And so that is why obedience is so important. And that is why even we posted this week a post about obedience. And there is blessing in obedience. Because the fact that it keeps us out of harm's way. That alone is a whole blessing in itself. And so we just want to encourage you and remind us to be obedient all the time, to show, to cultivate that love with God, so that we're able for that obedience to not be so hard and so like dreadful, but that is something that it comes out natural and easy for us.
Because if you love God, the obedience part should be a little easier than what you think it will be. You know, it sounds hard, but you know, real love, you know, you'll make that extra effort. You'll go that extra step to be able to please the one you love.
Exactly.
You know? After everything God has done for us, the least we can do is try to be obedient. And in obedience, we show God's love.
Había un comercial antes que decía, pero es por tu bien. I don't
oh
know,
my God,
yes. So it's like, be obedient porque es por tu bien.
It's for your own good.
Yeah. So then that's it for today's podcast. Again, we hope that you enjoy this podcast. You take some things away from it. If you want to dive in deeper to this Bible verse or anything else, and you find some stuff out, please let us know in the comments below. Other than that, we'll see you in the next podcast. Bye.